Zombies aren't scary anymore, and to be honest, I'm not quite sure they ever really were. The idea that the dead could come back with an unquestionable taste for brains never really dug under our skin. Instead, zombie stories always showed us what we really fear: society at our worst. We're afraid of what we might become when pushed to our limits, when we forego mourning to keep ourselves alive, and when our mistrust of strangers becomes entirely justified. For all the late-night conversations, human vs. zombie nerf games, and Facebook zombie survival lists, it might be fair to say we're a bit desensitized to what a zombie apocalypse would actually mean. We allow ourselves to think this kind of situation might even be fun. Season 2 of Telltale's The Walking Dead unapologetically shatters all of these notions. Released during a time when zombie shoot-em-ups had become run-of-the-mill and the ruins of society are seen as a playground instead of a graveyard, Clementine's story violently reminds us of the reality such horrors would actually mean. This humorless approach to the genre is what garners such respect for Telltale's series. People die, frequently, and the decisions you have to make not only affect the plot, but also how every character handles living in a world where dying is mundane. Season 2 of The Walking Dead was the first time the gravity of such a situation really hit home for me. Every time the cast of characters grows thinner, not just one at a time but often multiple people at once, you feel the exasperation and world weariness on everyone left alive. The mood and atmosphere are both heavy and fantastically realized in both the art direction and character design. There is less focus on typical adventure game puzzle solving and exploration this season, with a heavier emphasis on just the dialogue interactions. While it might be easy to throw your hands up and declare, "I'd rather watch a movie," it should be noted that the reason Telltale's writing is so effective is because you get to choose the details. This means you are inherently deciding the meaning behind every action. Major plot points are always going to be the same, and there's a definite lack of long-term consequences this time, but the nuanced ways in which you interact with each character makes the experience fundamentally different and equally valid for everyone. It's clear from viewing various message boards that regardless of the final outcome of the season, each player's choices and reasoning are completely justified based on how they projected their own ideals onto Clementine. Shifting the protagonist to a small girl growing up in such a terrible world was by far the best approach to continue The Walking Dead. Seeing everything through the eyes of Clementine makes the done-to-death apocalyptic world feel fresh and completely new. The decisions you make during dialogue prompts will often feel less important, as they really would if you're a young girl among a group of adults. You aren't Lee anymore, trying to keep a group together by making the tough choices. While this makes those aforementioned long-term consequences almost non-existent, it makes the moments Clementine's actions have an immediate impact carry all the more weight. This focus on the short term is very effective, thanks to the careful crafting of character relationships backing it all up. When you only have a split second to decide which character to save, all those calm moments hanging around the campfire or walking through the woods comes back to you in an instant. Those moments and how you handle them may not make the decision any less uncomfortable, but whatever you choose is sure to be logical based on what kind of person you've made Clementine. While the first season focused on the relationship of a man trying to protect a surrogate daughter, Season 2 feels way more introspective. Growing up in this world is difficult, and the game makes the death of characters so frequent that you begin to feel numb. Someone's bit? Shoot them in the head now. Someone refuses to come along? Just keep moving. Somebody wronged you? Get rid of them now. This desensitization is giving great context on the shoulders of Clementine, someone who we all hope should never have to be in such a situation. But this is The Walking Dead. You do what you need to survive, and Lee has certainly taught Clementine well.
First, remember, it's just a thing. What does that mean? I don't know. I thought it'd be heavier. Okay. What do I do? The most important thing is, always aim for the head. Okay.
The supporting cast also feels completely fleshed out, and almost everyone gets their share of the story. The weight of this world is heavy on all of them, but how they handle it can be dangerous and almost never clicks with others. This is what makes The Walking Dead so scary. No one knows how such an event is going to change a person, and trying to keep the group from cracking is a task that may prove to be ultimately impossible. It's frightening to think that yes, maybe only those physically and mentally strong enough can survive. It's frightening to think that we all have a breaking point. It's frightening to think friendships should ever come secondary to survival.
Leave me alone!
Stop fucking running! It's storming!
The world Telltale has created is certainly the best iteration of the Walking Dead universe thanks to solid writing and a custom experience that draws you in, showing you how uncomfortable the situation really is. While there were certainly moments where it felt like a character's death was just what was most convenient for the writers, nothing felt inconsistent with the tone they were trying to create or the point they were trying to make. There's a moment later in the game that takes place amidst the ruins of an old Civil War battlefield. This context draws attention to the violent nature of such an apocalypse. No one wants war, especially one that takes place in our own backyard that divides communities, friendships, and families. Yet, this is exactly the kind of world The Walking Dead takes place in. A world where the young have to cope with violence to survive, where you cannot trust the people you once loved, and where personal safety and the safety of others becomes a foreign concept. This Civil War theme calls to mind another instance where such a terrible nature within ourselves was drawn out. This uncomfortable idea that under the right circumstance we will all break ourselves and others as a way to cope with unimaginable loss and sadness is a prominent thought The Walking Dead successfully gets across. And that's the scariest thing of all.